Dr. Tanya Haj Hassan is a pediatric intensive care physician with Gaza Medic Voices. She worked in Gaza at the Al-Aqsa Hospital. She joins us from Rome. When we spoke earlier, you were in touch with some of your colleagues who are inside the Al-Aqsa Hospital now. Have you heard from them since then? What are they telling you?
Yeah, we've been texting while I've been waiting to come on. Honestly, the irony of this whole situation, waiting to come on to tell you about how catastrophic the situation is and how it is a full-on genocide. As I'm listening to Biden talk about D-Day and how we'll stand together against atrocities and how he will continue supporting this as long as it takes to bring the hostages home. Hostages are during truce. The price today is 210, at least, as you said just now, at least people killed, not to mention all those in the emergency department. One of my colleagues just sent me a video of himself. He's sweating, he's exhausted, and he's sitting on a chair in the resuscitation area. He said it was himself, a single nurse, and 3 other health professionals that had 20 cases that they were trying to resuscitate. 4 healthcare providers for red cases. Red is the color of triage. Resuscitation. Normally, a red case in a functioning healthcare system would have probably 4 healthcare providers per case. 4 healthcare providers for 20 red cases. That's just not possible. As you said, patients will die because they cannot be treated. He's describing the number of patients that arrived into the emergency department. He said hundreds. He doesn't know how many, but it was hundreds. He said it wasn't him, another nursing colleague told me, she said that there are bodies in the street. I don't know what to tell you.
Dr. Tanya Haj Hassan, apologies for interrupting you, but we can now hear from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Today also, we are successful in bringing back 4, and we will do our best to get back the whole of them. They said that it will be this operation under very complicated and dangerous circumstances. I knew that, but without hesitation I decided to do this operation because they are Israeli captives, and I trust the heroes in Yamam and Shabak who attacked and freed the captives. Now the captives are with us. The captives are the gold and the diamond that we are keen to return back. It is an operation that will be written in the history, and yes, we know that we have to pay the price, but I also know that the heroes will be always mentioned in the book, in the history of Israel. Yes, there are some pains, but we need to do that, and known as Mora. He is an officer in the commanders. He has lost his life, and I can feel the pain of his family. But this is the real glory. This will be always connected to his family and to his names and to the names and families of the other heroes. The heroes who fought to protect our blood. This is the bravery of our soldiers and officers. We will get back the whole number of captives with this manner or with another manner.
Israel just carried out a remarkable rescue operation of 4 hostages held by Hamas. This operation required ingenuity and courage of the highest degree, and our soldiers performed in an unmatchable way. We're committed to getting the release of all the hostages, and we expect Hamas to release them all. But if they don't, we'll do whatever it takes to get them all back home. Hamas is committing war crimes every day, including the holding of these hostages. Our soldiers are performing in the most valiant and moral way to end this war with a victory against these killers and against these kidnappers, and we shall prevail. Thank you.
We've been hearing Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu speaking after the release of 4 captives. 4 captives were rescued from Gaza, specifically from the area of Nuseirat, which is just north of Gaza City. But this was amidst a massive operation, a land, sea and air attack on Gaza that has resulted in the deaths of at least 210 Palestinians. Hundreds more have been injured. The death toll is likely to rise, and one of the few functioning hospitals in Gaza, the Al-Aqsa Hospital, has been overwhelmed by patients, doctors struggling to treat those who are coming in as they deal with a shortage of supplies, a shortage of fuel, and overwhelmed by the sheer number of people who need their help. Anthony Lowenstein is an independent journalist and author of Palestine Laboratory. He joins us live now from Sydney. What did you make of the remarks just there from Benjamin Netanyahu?
Unsurprising. I mean, obviously, if you're an Israeli, or certainly most Israelis, you're going to support the return of those 4 hostages, and I obviously support that too. However, and it's an important however, at what cost? At what cost to Palestinians and Gazans? And seeing that there are potentially hundreds of casualties, the vast majority of whom are civilians, for this operation, it's hard not to see it in a frankly pretty cynical way, because Netanyahu politically within Israel has been flailing in the last months, far less popular, far less gathering public support, and other political parties whose views on this issue aren't that different, by the way, on Gaza, have been surging in the polls. I did note, though, in the last few weeks, since the ICC recommendations for arrest warrants, including for Netanyahu, that his public support in public opinion polls, in fact, has gone up in Israel. And it's almost certain that after this hostage rescue, his support will go up as well. But none of that changes the core issue here, which is that Israel's stated aims 8 months ago have not been met. Hamas still exists. Hamas is still fighting all over the Gaza Strip. And there's no real sense of victory on the Israeli part, and not least, Israeli security and safety is far worse than it was on October the 6th. If you kill 40 to 50,000 Palestinians in Gaza, which is what Israel's been doing for the last 8 months, of course your position internationally and domestically is far worse. Sadly, most Israelis don't see that or don't want to see that, and are blind to that reality, but that's the reality. So Netanyahu is hoping that he can rally some more patriotic fervour.
What do you think about that? I mean, because we've seen every Saturday evening there have been protests calling for the release of Israelis being held inside Gaza. Will the release of these 4 captives be used as sort of proof that that there is some sort of victory in continuing this war?
Well, in some circles, absolutely. I mean, of course, it's interesting, as you say, that there's growing pressure within Israel to have a ceasefire agreement with Hamas, but there's still massive support in Israel for the war, to continue the war. And I fear that for many Israelis, they will see the rescue of 4 hostages as a reason to continue a war, regardless of the Palestinian casualties, regardless of how many Palestinians in Gaza are murdered in the process. And that kind of myopia and blindness and, frankly, racism within Israel is something which is very mainstream. It's not just on the far right. It's, in fact, very, very mainstream. And Netanyahu himself and, frankly, many of the political leaders in Israel, whether he falls tomorrow or not as Prime Minister, have very similar views, that there is a belief of some kind of long-term Israeli presence in Gaza. There's no real Israeli belief that Israel should not exist in Gaza in some military form. So, yeah, it's an incredibly difficult, ugly situation. I fear many Israelis will get the wrong message from this.
All right, thank you very much, Auntie Lowenstein, for sharing your thoughts with us, joining us live there from Sydney. We now take you to